I want to talk to you about how to read your merchant processing statement. Okay, and it's one of those things where you want to be clear as to what you have been charged on. Okay, so here's the insights I want to really pay attention to. The thing is that if you look at your merchant processing statement, you can really think of it as a gold mine for hidden fees because your processor might be intentionally or unintentionally making it hard for you to read your statement. Right? It's one of those things where they actually bury in the details a few hidden fees that will actually are really lowering your cash inflows. Okay, so just like you get an invoice for your vet visit, furnace repair, or your Amazon order, you might be trying to decipher something similar for your payment processing. And the thing is that if you have a lot of transactions, if you have a large volume of transactions, this makes the whole thing complicated. Okay, and the thing is that you have to really understand what your merchant processing statement is all about. You know, are you the type that needs to know that whatever charge or item on an invoice is? Maybe you've noticed actually bigger changes lately. Changes and charges. Basically, your payment processor is actually burying into your invoice a lot of like crazy fees. Okay, or just maybe you have stumbled on one of those fees where you're like, wow, that's crazy. Why are they charging me this? Why are they charging me that? Okay. Now the thing is that you have to ask yourself, is my payment processor overcharging me? Are they charging me like fairly, or are they just overcharging me? And the thing is, you can't really rely on quote unquote like the honesty of the payment processor because they're in business to make money too. Okay, and one thing for sure, you got to really ask yourself. There are three things you got to ask yourself. Number one, how what's the volume of transactions you're processing every month? Number two, how often do you need to check your statement? And number three, what kind of relationships have you cultivated with the payment processor? In other words, how long have you been actually been a client of theirs? So if you've been a client of theirs for a long time, that means there is an element of trust and reliability that's there, right? And also, how often you should be checking your statement? Maybe once a month. And if you have a large volume, maybe twice a month. So when you think about your merchant statement, what are the things that you need to really see? Let's say necessarily on those on that statement. Now, a merchant statement is simply a receipt for your merchant account and your monthly payment processing transaction fees. Unfortunately, it has often become a Trojan horse for smuggling hidden and additional fees under the radar for some time. And sometimes you have the terms administrative fees. You know, that's kind of crazy. So, on a fundamental and legal level, here is what your merchant statement needs to include. I'm going to put this on the screen so that when you actually take your merchant account, let's say your merchant statement, and you compare and contrast what you have on there and what you have here, you should really see that you are doing fantastic. So when you think about a merchant statement, you got to have a merchant account summary. You got to have like a high level summary, nothing really granular, but a high level summary. You got to have a total number of items charged by card type. So American Express, Visa, MasterCard, and Discover. The total amount processed, the total fees, and a breakdown of each fee item because you got to really understand what you've been charged for. The processing fees, the fee amount, the settlement invoice with dates and amounts, and any chargebacks, adjustments, and reversals fees. Okay. Now this is actually what you should be having. So I'm counting here 8 items. You should have 8 items basically on a standard statement, on the standard merchant statement. Now things should be really straightforward. However, it's not always the case. Normally, if you have, let's say, a quote unquote honest merchant processor, right from the dashboard, you can see a clean and concise summary of your statement. And you will see basically what's really happening, what kind of fees the processor is actually assessing. And you got to really see also the card brand network cost, all clearly listed by session on your statement. I'm showing you on the screen here an example, and this is from Halcyon. And see, this is the kind of granularity you should be having, the kind of clarity but also the kind of granularity, especially in terms of like how the whole payment process, how the whole statement is actually labeled. Okay, it has to be clear. You see colors, you see you see titles, you see bold items, and you see something that is actually user friendly. So this is actually a great sort of a great example of what you should be seeing if you get a statement from your merchant processor. Now let me break down for you basically the merchant processing like fees that you can have on a statement. Okay, not all merchant statements are equal. Some are smooth, easy on the eyes, and inviting. In comparison, others look like a jumbled code written by an over like a caffeinated spider monkey. So reading a merchant processing statement can be confusing, even for employees of payment processors. So this is one of those things where you know what you kind of ask yourself: is this actually done by a human or is this done by AI, artificial intelligence? I mean, we've seen bills for other providers with a list of fees that we haven't even heard of, like fees for the sake of fees. Can you imagine that? That's what I was just telling you a little earlier when I said if you're lucky you have a processor that's honest, quote unquote honest, then you really, really are like lucky. And the worst part is many processors won't give you a description or straight answer and make you call in to get any clarity. I mean, imagine you went on hold for hours just to know what you were paying for. To top it all off, you cannot be assured their customer service team will be a completely forthright or even helpful. Okay, so while you might still have to go to phone war with your processor, it's one of those things where you got to really ask yourself whether it's worth it. Because see, the thing is, the ROI has to be there for you. Like when you do some digging in your statement and you see some fees and you ask questions about the fees, you got to really ask yourself whether or not those fees are, let's say, consequential enough, and also it's worth it to actually find them. Okay. Now, some fee names are actually cut off or abbreviated. Others are broad or ambiguous. Often, a Google search leads you down a rabbit hole of information, and you feel more defeated than when you started. So this is one of those things where it's really confusing, but you can ask yourself whether or not there's an element of truth in the processors sending you a statement. Okay, but one thing for sure, when it comes to a breakdown of the fees, you got to really understand that you need to clarify every single fee, especially if you're going to use this merchant processor for a long time. I want to talk to you about fees here. Okay, so first of all, when you actually have a merchant processing statement, you have a merchant discount rate. Now, what it really is, this is actually a processing fee. This is a processing fee rate. Okay, there is no discount here. Okay, this is something you need to really understand. This is the processing fee rate. It's just the cost your processor charges you for them to accept payments, usually between 1 to 3%. Sometimes you go to 4%. So that's the merchant discount rate. So some processors will call this your effective merchant discount rate, EMDR. If it's not listed, or you want to know how much you are paying in processing fees, first take your total transaction fees and divide that by the total sales volume. So in this case, you want to take the total amount processed and divide by total fees and any others that you may find hidden. Okay, and for reference, the average U.S. Is the 2.3, but something like 3.83, although high, might be less drastic if you are processing all online transactions. Because the whole thing is, when you're processing online transactions, the risk level here, the risk level is high, right? Anytime you have in-person keyed in transactions, the risk level is low. But when you have online transactions, the risk level can be astronomically high, and you could be charged daily per transaction when you settle your transactions, or monthly when your trades are deposited into your merchant account, usually along with your other monthly fees. So it really depends upon the kind of frequency that you have. Okay, operational frequency. Now, Note that these charges, and what you want to do is that you want to add them to your total fees to get a full idea of the fees that you are paying every month total, especially if they are actually are sprinkled throughout the month, right? The whole thing is you want to really sort of aggregate those fees to have a clear idea about what the total is or what the totals are, so you can really see your cash outflows. So besides actually the merchant discount rate, you also have annual maintenance fee. So this is actually this sneaky fee can really blindside you and take you a hefty chunk of change. Usually at around $900. I'm talking about $900 per year. That's a lot of cash. I don't care how much you're pulling in. I don't care how much you. It's still a lot of money. Okay. Many processors won't mention this fee upfront and will send reminders that it is upcoming or disclose it on your statement. Other processors will sell the idea that they don't have a monthly fee while they more than cover it in their annual fee, which they don't advertise as loudly, right? So it's one of those things where you have to really understand that when you have an annual fee, it's like you having a monthly fee divided by you having a monthly fee multiplied by 12. Actually, you still have it, okay? So be careful there. Now, any other way processors implement these fees is actually by claiming that this is a tech update fee to bring you a better service. And so you want to ask your processor about any annual or update fees beforehand, and be sure to get it in writing and read your contract thoroughly. Okay. So the first fee, merchant discount rate. Second fee, annual maintenance fee. Third fee, you have the device rental fee. So depending on your processor, you may have to purchase or rent specific and expensive POS equipment. That's just how the game is played. Okay. And so not only is there an upfront or a monthly cost associated with this, but there are often costly cancellation fees. Note that sometimes this fee is not labeled device rental or mentioned rental in the name at all. It might be only including the processor's name and have an associated charge, and it should still be listed under a fee or other sections though. So just be careful there. Next, you have account update fee. So this is usually an extra fee for updating your basic information, such as change of address or account details. But yeah, the crazy thing is your processor is charging you just to change your account name or your account details. Okay, so they're charging you, and this might be like $50 all the way to $100. If you're thinking about the merchant processor fees, you have chargeback fees. So this is a fairly common and straightforward fee, the chargeback fee, but one that you should be aware of. Okay, your MSP or payment processor will post this fee if a customer files a chargeback, and it's worth actually knowing how much your processor charges you when you are, let's say, when you're looking to sign on. Just make sure it is a reasonable amount, usually $15 to $30. Now, the thing is that there are many reasons a customer might file a chargeback, so there are a few ways to fight it if you need to. Okay, but it's one of those things where it's just a customer expense. If you are going to choose a merchant processor, you're gonna have to deal with chargeback fees. Next, you have a PCI compliance fee. That's also another fee that you need to know. So a fee that some payment processors charge you in the interest of making sure your credit card transactions are secure and your business is up to payment industry security standards. The catch is that payment processors have to be and should be regardless, okay? And so our opinion is that they shouldn't be outsourcing this one-time annual cost to you and getting their monthly return on every merchant account. So it's one of those things where, unfortunately, you are going to you might have to eat that fee also. So basically, when you think about the fees that you can actually contemplate this year, you have a merchant discount rate, you have annual maintenance fee, you have device rental fee, account update fee, chargeback fee, PCI compliance fee. So those are, I mean, I have three more that I want to share with you. But one thing for sure, you have to really understand that basically those fees may not have the name may not be labeled the way I label them here, but they're there. Okay, they're there. That's why you want to really look at your merchant processing statement in all details to see what kind of fees you can unearth yourself, and you got to really unearth those fees. So another fee I want you to really familiarize yourself with is a batch header, batch settlement, batch capture, daily closeout fee. So a lot of names for the same thing, right? So if this is a fee charged by payment processors to close, quote unquote, close or settle your transactions for the day. So they're charging you also for closing. I mean, they're charging you to close your transactions for the day. So when you settle transactions, it means you send the data from your terminal to your payment processor, or your funds are deposited into your account. And this is a necessary function that every business has to do at the end of the day. And at the end of every business day, in order to balance their receipts and get their money back from their payment processor. So charging a fee for this seems like another unnecessary markup, in our opinion. Okay. You also have you have to deal with admin fee. So basically, when you think about admin fee, what do you have here? This is a made-up fee for basic functions like customer service, account adjustments, and or basic processor operations that shouldn't actually cost extra when you think about it. And finally, you have a ticket. So ticket is another word for the transaction amount. So let me give you a few pro tips before we close to this conversation. What are the best practices for catching hidden fees? Well, you want to compare month-to-month statement to pick out any outliers. Look at examples from competitors. Use processors' fee guides with a grain of salt, and check out the authorization or other fees section. Those are really hotspot. Okay. Now, one thing for sure, if you are being charged unnecessary fees, consider looking into how to leave your merchant contract for a payment provider who doesn't take you for every penny on hidden fees. So the bottom line here is what basically when you actually read your statement in all granularity, you know which information your statement needs to include. You actually know the hotspots where hidden fees can be listed. You know which complements to look for. If your processor uses let's say interchange, wholesale, and markup cost pricing, and you actually have read a lot of blogs, you watched this video and others, and you have educated yourself on the topic. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Here are the closing remarks. Into this conversation, I spoke to you about how to read your merchant processing statement. I give you the insights, the fees, the pro tips, and add the closing remarks. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.